I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is
Fool for a Lifetime.
This is
Orion's Belt.
Kopi's band, right? Like
He's friends of these.
I think he's like the manager or something of this band.
Oh.
So there you are.
He used his influence well.
Yeah, you used it wisely. For timely, topical, political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori. We've got a very controversial take on
that new Netflix movie, Cuties.
Yeah, so that's up there. So if you want to check it out, go for it. If you want to be angry at your brother Vincent, there are many opportunities to be angry at your brother Vincent. So go check that out there.
For I'm trying to think the word.
Unjust reason?
No, an innumerable amount of reasons. Just pick any of the videos.
Yeah. Also, I was going to say something, then I decided against it. So, hold on for 1 second.
Strike it from the record.
Strike it from the record. Ryan's belt, let's do it.
one better than the last one.
Yeah. No disrespect to the last one, but why didn't you guys do this one first? A better introduction to the band.
I agree.
Think for yourself. You know, that phrase, think for yourself, is such a it's a very curious phrase to me. Because...
Go ahead. I have two things to say about it, too.
Because that's one of those phrases that everybody affirms, yeah, but everybody hates when you do it. Mm. And so it's one of those, like, phrases that captures an ideal that is very rarely accomplished. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, if everybody, this is not a criticism of the band, I'm just talking about society as a whole, which is rejects the concept of independent thought, which is why bands like this, who are the prophets of our time, have to come out and continuously tell us to do so. So, Jazakallah. But people really don't like that. They don't like people that think for themselves. They really don't.
No.
And it doesn't really matter, you know, if you're on the left wing, then you say, oh, the right wing, it's all groupthink, and vice versa. If you're religious, then, oh, atheists all think the same. And if you're atheist, you know, I had this silly person yesterday talk to me. I shot a video in another forum about slavery in the Bible, and I was saying that slavery is a horrible evil, and the slavery that happened, particularly in the antebellum period, warranted the death penalty, and that explains the Civil War from a theological perspective of 600,000 Americans being killed, brothers killing brothers, fathers killing sons, that God gave this country the death penalty. Yeah. So this white lady comes on and basically says, she comes on midstream and says, here you are, black man, defending slavery and defending the Confederacy, internalized racism and still racism, and this dude is begging for the Republicans to give him a log cabin, you know, basically calling me an Uncle Tom. And, like, it was just so hilarious because, like, because I'm black and a Christian, that automatically, you know, she already had it in her head what I was going to say, and so, you know, ended up making a damn fool of herself in front of a couple hundred people. But, you know, that's just one of, but it happens all the time. Christians do it to atheists too. Christians, you know, was it Steve Harvey? He said, you know, I would never marry an atheist or be friends with an atheist because, you know, they have no morals. It's like, what? It's like, all my atheist friends are gunning for Medicare for, most of them are gunning for Medicare for all, and most of them are heartbroken over the idea of people dying because of a lack of health care. That seems to be very moral to me. Like, show me these atheists who are completely amoral. So it's just like, everybody says think for yourself, but the minute you disagree with the prevailing narrative of your particular group, you'll see how much people really value that concept. Newsflash, they don't value it. Spoiler. Go ahead, what were you going to say?
Well, one thing, I thought it was funny because they said, think for yourself, question their lies. Which, think for yourself, they're telling you, look, you should be thinking for yourself. But then they said, question your lies, which is them telling you that the other people are lying, which is them giving you a thought. Instead of saying, question their words. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, I caught that. How do I know their lies, though, bro?
Because you said it.
Because you said so.
Question them.
I'm thinking for myself. That was I'm very surprised I missed that. I'm starting to doubt myself.
Your capabilities.
My capabilities.
Maybe I can debate that guy. You won't be scared of me.
You mix that guy. You put that dude in the blender. We're talking about somebody else.
Yep. So anyway, that, and then obviously anytime I think about this, I just think about homeschooling, because I agree. I feel like, you know, like, yeah, I gotta question things and I gotta think things through for myself, but then, like, when the kids, like, trying to do it too much, I'm like, stop!
Oh, that's where you were going. Well, I think a year ago somebody actually wanted, like, to have, like, I don't know if it was a debate or, like, televised conversation with me about, because he said he was disturbed that we homeschooled the kids. I was like, what? And this
the world must be very disturbing to you now.
This dude was European. No disrespect to Europe, but I mean, they're kind of statist. So, like, he was like, you know, how dare you school your own kids? Like, what's wrong with you? And of course now, you know, like this whole COVID situation and the commentary that it has given to education is interesting.
Oh, absolutely.
Because all these kids didn't school since April.
Yep.
That's about, I don't know, 3 months, maybe a quarter of their school year got completely wiped. And they all got pushed to the to the next grade.
And a lot of them are working, you know, remotely.
Well, yeah, but the working remotely is fine. But like a lot of these kids, you know, didn't know school.
Yeah.
Like when they shut down the schools, it's not like you had an immediate remote solution.
No.
It was about 3 to 5 weeks, and then even with that, people didn't know how to manage that, and the parents were saying, "Well, summer's right around the corner." Mm-hmm. Like I was listening to one guy around in this area. He was basically said that he said like 90% of the students didn't do a damn thing during. Mm-hmm. I mean, I knew in our place like nobody was doing nothing. So it was like, but they all got pushed to the next grade. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, then what is that saying about our current educational?
I agree.
Educational system and all the taxes I'm paying for it and all the rest of it.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of institutions that never get questioned. You know, and there's so many. So that's what I thought you were going there when you were talking about the homeschooling thing. But then, of course, there was that jihad between you and Johan. Yeah. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's just too many things. He likes to argue everything.
He was right on that one, though.
No.
And I had to like massage it because you were getting very emotional about it.
He wants to debate everything.
Yeah, but you were dead wrong on that one, though.
I don't believe that I was.
You're wrong. Go ahead, tell the people.
I don't believe that
let the audience decide.
So basically, the question was, if you're volunteering for a relief program or something like that. I'm going to mix up the wording a little bit, where you have to make
it's basically
sandwiches.
it's basically a soup kitchen, basically.
You have to make sandwiches, and then they tell you how many slices of bread you have. And they give you an extra slice so it doesn't go evenly. And they tell you it takes 2 slices to make a sandwich. How many sandwiches can you make? And if there's any extra, what could you do with the extra? So the idea is you're supposed to figure out that, oh, you could make 136 sandwiches, but then you have an extra slice. What are you going to do with that slice? And so he said you could... He was saying all kinds of bizarre things. You could choke somebody with it. You could eat it. You could make like chips and dip out of it, and like basically like cut it up into a bunch of pieces and like smear peanut butter over the top whole thing. I'm like, is he missing? Does he not realize you can make another half a sandwich? And so I go in this big, long, giant discussion with him. This is on math. We already had a big, long, giant discussion in spelling over something. So by the time we got to this, and I have like I had all 4 kids down there plus the baby that day, so it was a lot, and having to stop and do these debates was like really getting on my nerves. And so I'm trying not to be like, oh, come on, make a half a friggin' sandwich. And so, like, you know how you see those memes where the parents are like, I said! And so I'm like trying to be like calm and teacherly and like the magic school bus lady, but I'm getting more annoyed as the thing's going because I'm like, why does he not get that you can just make a half a sandwich? So I'm like trying to like give him extra information so he can get to the point, and then finally he goes, I mean, I know you can make an extra half a sandwich, but they didn't say that was specifically what they were looking for. I'm like, so I just spent the last 15 minutes in this debate with him about it.
It was a poorly worded question.
But everybody knew where we were trying to go. So
yeah, we knew where the authors of the curriculum wanted to go, but they did not word the question in such a way as that being the only answer. And so, you know, we teach the kids, hey, it's not our job to teach you what to think, it's our job to teach you how to think. But Sori is only saying that. She doesn't really mean it. So if it was me and he would have said that, I'd have looked at the stuff and I'd been like, you know what, you're right. And I'd have moved on, I promise you I would have.
Yeah, he probably would have. But there's like...
I would have.
The math
100%.
was already like... Everything. He was debating everything. Well, why do I have to know division? What am I going to use division for in my life? why do I need to even know multiplication? Is that even something? And Selah does the same thing. She doesn't want to do the work, so then she just will say, well, why is this important for my future? So I've decided I'm not answering those questions anymore because they waste so much of the school day. So I say, well...
There's ways to answer that question without spending 4 hours.
Yes, for you. So what I tell them is, this is what we're doing today, and if you want to figure out why this is important, go ask Mr. Vin or your dad, whatever, depending on which child I'm talking to.
Yeah. I mean,
so that stops it immediately, and we just get the work done.
And that's a very good demonstration of the fact that very few people really mean that.
Yeah.
You don't really believe in that ideology. You believe it for yourself, just not on the kids.
No. I believe it for adults. Like, I think adults should, but I don't want to deal with a bunch of kids doing that all the time. It annoys me. So that's and honestly, I feel like that other people's kids should question stuff. But I feel like our kids shouldn't.
Especially in the form of education.
And I think that they should question you because you're very happy to go into those big discussions and stuff. And
we ended up with a moderated debate on it.
Yeah, but not me.
We got to release that thing at some point.
I'm like, you know what?
We got to release that debate.
I'm tired.
Yeah, see, that's really what
I don't want to go.
That's what it all comes down to.
Kids talk a lot, and the kids are always talking. From the second I get up in the morning and I walk down the stairs.
That's what it comes down to, ladies and
then
gentlemen.
we finally get to school, and then everybody's having questions, and I'm trying to answer everybody's questions, and I'm trying to be, a good teacher that encourages.
You're a good teacher. You're a good teacher.
But when everybody's going all at the same time, and then we have to debate whether we need to know multiplication, and I'm like, no, you need to know multiplication or fractions, and I'm like, and I'll tell them, when you're cooking, I'm not going to cook when I grow up. Well, come on, you're going to cook when you grow up.
Dorian's delusion. He believes that he's going to be this quadrillionaire.
But see, Dorian would never say that. Dorian would never say, I'm not going to cook when I grow up.
Who said he's not going to cook when he grows up?
Like Zoe or Johan or Selah, when they're really trying to make that argument, I'm not going to cook when I grow up.
Yeah, I just think Sori doesn't know when she's being trolled by the kids. That's the other thing.
Well, there are times where I don't realize I'm being trolled.
The kids have completely mastered the trolling mechanism with Sori.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think Johan brought it up around the dinner table. And I could tell, right from the beginning that it was going to be some bullshit. Because of just the way that he was looking and things like that. So it was a nice long discussion. And I was very happy. It was a very cool time. And then I looked at Sori and I was like, wow, self. Things are not going to go well with you if you completely agree with this kid because
you were right.
She's not feeling it.
You deduced that situation correctly.
Yeah. Oh, I knew. I can read you very well. I've started showing you some of my cognitive powers.
I've been amazed.
I've been showing you in the last week some of the Jedi mind trick stuff, and it's really not that. It's just training. But it's a little.
Whatever. Either way, you were right. If you would have been like, oh no, because the thing is, I'm the one that's doing the education.
It was a very open and shut. It was a very open, and I came up with a very brilliant way of
you balanced it
getting Johan to conform while being a non-conformist.
Yep.
I basically told him, look, that they phrased the word, they phrased the question poorly so as to get their desired result. But sometimes you have to play the game of people even though you're playing the game so that you can, move on and be successful, and then you'll know when to use that and when not to use it. So it was a very, but that really isn't BS because I do that all the time. There's all the time when people are like, there's only one way for this. I'm like, no, there's like 19. But I'm going to say there's one so that we don't get into an argument, and I'm just going to take Route 4.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I think that, but it's just, if I only had one kid that I was schooling, then maybe I would have more.
No, you wouldn't.
Well, we don't know. But
it's your upbringing. You came from the very regimented.
But I definitely don't want to do it when I'm schooling that many kids.
I don't think you would do it for one. Which of course, the dynamic in this song is the the parent relationship. Somebody's getting towed. It's the parent relationship. Father, father, won't you beg?
Yeah,
Mama, won't you pray?
What?
I'm
That
on my knees and
confused
starting
me.
to age. What do you mean?
That
Well, I think
chunk.
it is him breaking out from, the, I don't want to say oppressive, but the one linear way of thinking that he came up with, I'm assuming, is what's happening. Because, he says he's on his knees starting to age. Which is basically like, I'm outgrowing this stuff, is how I interpreted it. He's like, yo, I'm outgrowing this stuff, so, do your prayer thing and let me be myself. Which is actually...
Oh, okay.
Which is actually really good advice for Christian or religious parents. Like, if you do believe there's a God in heaven, and your kid is believing something they're not supposed to do, or choosing a lifestyle they're not supposed to choose, then pray for them. But a lot of Christians, it's clear to me that the concept of prayer and the sovereignty of God and things like that is, again, just a lot of this, but they don't really believe it. Because the minute their kid says something or believes something, they freak out, they go crazy, and they do all this fear-based nonsense that ends up traumatizing their kids and destroying their relationship because they're scared to death.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a second,
Yeah.
I thought you believed that God would,
Yep.
So if they're crazy, God can handle them a lot better than you, so how about you just pray and let the kid go on in life? And, obviously if your kid wants to walk in the middle of traffic, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the kid, Dorian's politics horrifies me. He's one of these right-wing, completely, he has no compassion for anybody that he believes is beneath him or whatever. He's the complete manifest opposite of what I am politically. And, we have discussions and things like that. And to me, that sort of callousness, that sort of far right callousness is actually indicative of a problem with the soul. I don't separate politics and religion in that sense.
Yeah, you gotta remind me. I gotta tell you something that he told me today.
Right. So to me, I'm like, oh Lord, we'll do debates and things like that. But the main thing is, I just pray for him, God, give this kid some compassion for God's sake, and some love for his own people. Good night.
Yeah. He's funny though because he'll say something that you're like, wow, you sound like a sociopath, but then he'll say something else, or you'll see him in a certain situation, and when he got his job and he was donating to St. Jude. And we didn't even know it, and he was also setting aside money for those single moms. You know what I mean? So some of his political things, I'm like, wow, you sound like a really horrible person. But then there are other things about him that I'm like, he's such a sweet boy. But it's like, how are you the same person?
He's a sweet boy, but Ben Shapiro could melt your soul, and that's unfortunately what's happened to my child. No. Regime. I seek refuge from the devil, the accursed. What do you give the song?
They did a lot better. This one is a lot better than the last one.
100%.
Probably.
It was heavy. It had that Alice in Chains vibe to it.
When we used to go to Funtown,
Vocally.
there was this ride that you would go on the Thunderbolt, and it would go around. This seemed like a song they'd play on the Thunderbolt. Anyway, probably a... See, I have two scales. One is your professional bands like Metallica and all of them that are on that, and then the other one is people that are just busting out on their own like that. And so this is on the busting out on your own one. It's a 9.6.
I don't have such a distinction. I could put this song up against it. It had a very heavy driving beat. The production was on point. The energy was there, and then when you add the Alice in Chains type vocal style, I'd put this thing up against anybody. Not our band, though. No, really, really good song. 9.6, really, really good song. Really good song. One of the heavier songs I've heard this week for sure.
And a lot of changes too.
Yeah. You notice that sarcasm? Changes? I might die before the thing gets released. If I die, you can remarry. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Down.